Hare Krishna. We'll do a little bit kirtan. Welcome everybody to the Sunday Feast class. We'll do a short kirtan and then begin our discussion. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Gopi Janavallabha Jaya Girivaradhari Jaya Girivaradhari Jaya Girivaradhari Yashodanandana Brajajanaranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare Hare Ram 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 Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna Hare Rama Hare Rama Ram Ram Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Prabhupada Srila Prabhupada Jaya Jaya Prabhupada 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 Jaya Srila Prabhupada युग धर्म हरिनाम संकीर्तन यज्ञ की जय। ग्रंथराज श्रीमद् भागवतम की जय। श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय। So we'll be reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 2, Shloka number 7 today. Let me know when you can see this font size properly. Is it visible now? Yes. Or should it be more bigger? Is it better? Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudiraye Nashta Prayeshu Abhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavatya Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naistiki. Reading from Canto 1, Chapter number 2, Shloka number 7. Bhagavatam. वासुदेवे भगवती भक्ति योगः प्रयोजितः जनयत्याशु वैराग्यम् ज्ञानं च यदहैतुकम् वासुदेवे भगवती भक्ति योगः प्रयोजितः जनयत्याशु वैराग्यम् ज्ञानं च यदहैतुकम् वासुदेवे भगवती भक्ति योगः प्रयोजितः जनयत्याशु वैराग्यम् ज्ञानं च यदहैतुकम्. Would someone like to repeat the verse?
वासुदेवे भगवती
वासुदेवे भगवती
योगः प्रयोजितः
भक्ति योगः प्रयोजितः जनयत्याशु वैराग्यम् ज्ञानं च यदहैतुकम्. One more person. वासुदेवे भगवती भक्ति योगः प्रयोजितः जनयत्याशु वैराग्यम् ज्ञानं च यदहैतुकम्. One more person.
वासुदेवे भगवती
वासुदेवे भगवती
योगः प्रयोजितः
भक्ति योगः प्रयोजितः जनयत्याशु वैराग्यम् ज्ञानं च यदहैतुकम्. What to what meanings? Vasudeve unto Krishna, Bhagavati unto the personality of Godhead, Bhakti Yoga contact of devotional service, Prayojitaha being applied, Janayati does produce, Ashu very soon, Vairagyam detachment, Jnanam knowledge, Cha and Yat that which, Ahaitukam causeless. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Translation. By rendering devotional service unto the personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna, one immediately acquires causeless knowledge and detachment from the world. I'll repeat this. By rendering devotional service unto the personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna, one immediately acquires causeless knowledge and detachment from the world. Purport. Those who consider devotional service to the Supreme Lord Sri Krishna to be something like material emotional affairs may argue that in the revealed scriptures, sacrifice, charity, austerity, knowledge, mystic powers, and similar other processes of transcendental realization are recommended. According to them, bhakti or devotional service of the Lord is meant for those who cannot perform high-grade activities. Generally, it is said that bhakti cult is meant for Shudras, Vaishyas, and the less intelligent woman class. But that is not the actual fact. The bhakti cult is the topmost of all transcendental activities, and therefore it is simultaneously sublime and easy. It is sublime for pure devotees who are serious about getting in contact with the Supreme Lord. And it is easy for the neophytes who are just on the threshold of the house of bhakti. To achieve the contact of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna, is a great science, and it is open for all living beings, including Shudras, Vaishyas, women, and even those lower than the low-born Shudras. So what to speak of the high-class men, like the qualified Brahmanas and the great self-realized kings? The other high-grade activities designated as sacrifice, charity, austerity, etc., are corollary factors following the pure and the scientific bhakti cult. The principles of knowledge and detachment are two important factors for the path of transcendental realization. The whole spiritual process leads to perfect knowledge of everything material and spiritual. And the results of such perfect knowledge are that one becomes detached from material affection and becomes attached to spiritual activities. Becoming detached from material things does not mean becoming inert altogether, as men with a poor fund of knowledge think. Naishkarma Naishkarma means not undertaking activities that will produce good or bad effects. Negation does not mean negation of the positive. Negation of the non-essentials does not mean negation of the essential. Similarly, detachment from material forms does not mean nullifying the positive form. Very nice point. Detachment from the material form does not mean nullifying the positive form. The bhakti cult is meant for realization of the positive form. When the positive form is realized, the negative forms are automatically eliminated. Therefore, with the development of the bhakti cult, with the application of the positive service to the positive form, one naturally becomes detached from inferior things and becomes attached to superior things. Similarly, bhakti cult, being the supermost occupation of the living being, leads him out of the material sense enjoyment. That is the sign of a pure devotee. He is not a fool, nor is he engaged in inferior energies, nor does he have material values. This is not possible by dry reasoning. It actually happens by the grace of the Almighty. In conclusion, one who is a pure devotee has all other good qualities, namely knowledge and detachment, etc. But one who has only knowledge or detachment is not necessarily well acquainted with the principles of bhakti cult. Bhakti is the supermost occupation of the human being. Very nice. Om Ajnanatimirandhasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupah Kada Mahyam Dadati Swapadantikam. Vandeham Shri Guruho Shri Utapad Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamscha. He Krishna Karuda Sindho Dina Bandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Taptakanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanusute Devi Pranamami Hari. वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितनां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद। हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्ण पृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदांत स्वामिन्निति नामिने। Namaste Saraswati Deve Gaurvani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Mukam Karoti Vachalam Pangum Langhayate Girim Yat Kripa Tamaham Bande Shri Gurum Dinatarinam Paramananda Madhavam Shri Chaitanya Ishwaram Hari Om Tat Sat. Hare Krishna. So translation, once again, will recite with me. By rendering devotional service unto the personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna, one immediately acquires causeless knowledge and detachment from the world. So this is a very, very nice verse. This verse is in reply to one of the questions which Parikshit Maharaj or which Suta Goswami was asked by the sages of Naimisharanya. In the previous verse, we saw how pure devotional service is the supreme occupation of all living entities. Savai pumsam paro dharmo yato bhakti radhokshaje ahaitukya pratihata yayatma supasidati. This is the verse before, where it was being described that there are so many kinds of duties, dharmas, which people have. Desh dharma, kala dharma, patra dharma, deh dharma, society dharma, office dharma, family dharma, XYZ dharma, so many dharmas. But the scriptures are of the opinion, or let's say Lord Krishna is of the opinion, that amongst all the dharmas, the highest dharma is to render pure devotional service to Krishna, who's known as Adhokshaja. Aksha means eyes or the sensory perception. Adhokshaja, that one who cannot be perceived by the senses, is Adhokshaja. So Krishna or God is beyond the sensory perception. Truth or the approach to truth can be understood, or we can approach the Supreme Absolute Truth in three ways if we try to understand it. The first way, which is the natural way, is called as Shabd Praman. No, it's not the first way. This is the last way. The first way is Pratyaksha Praman. For example, you are sitting in front of me, I can see you. And I'm sitting in front of you, you can see me. So this is Pratyaksha. So I will believe in only those things which I can see. So I will believe in only those things which I can perceive. That which is within the range of my sensory perception is the truth. And that which is not within, or that which is outside the range of my sensory perception, I'll never believe in it. I'll never accept it. This is not a very wise proposal, because in normal life also we see there are so many things beyond the range of our sensory perception, but we know that they exist. Can you give me an example of something which you cannot perceive, but it is there? Gravity. Gravity you can perceive, no? You can throw a ball, it always comes down. We can feel it. Sunlight you can see, no, every day. You see it, that's why you believe in it. If you were not able to see it, probably you would have said, I don't believe in sunlight. Sorry? Universe you cannot see. Okay, I can agree that you cannot see the universe, but you believe it exists because Wikipedia tells you. Yes, but how do we really believe in God? That's the question. Can you see the sound vibrations? No, we all read in our school when we were small children that we can hear between a particular frequency. What is that frequency? 20 hertz to 20,000 hertz. In this range, we can hear. Does it mean that there is no sound above 20,000 hertz and below 20 hertz? It is there, but we cannot hear, we cannot perceive them. Just because we cannot hear, does it mean that it doesn't exist? For example, there must be some ant somewhere walking. So the ant is walking. When the ant walks, there must be some noise. But our ears cannot catch that noise. So does this mean that the ant makes no noise? Ant is absolutely silent all the time. Ant never gets angry. Ant don't communicate to each other. They don't fight with each other. They don't, do anything in life. Does it mean that? No. So similarly, that which cannot be seen, our sensory perception is flawed also. For example, if I take a glass full of water and put a spoon in it, will the spoon appear to be straight? It will appear crooked. So not only sensory perception is very limited, but also it is incorrect. We cannot rely on our senses. For example, if you take my spectacles away, half the things I can't see. If you remove my spectacles, I can't say which books are kept in the book rack. So we cannot depend on sensory perception to understand the absolute truth. Srila Prabhupada explains that to understand, depending on sensory perception to understand the absolute truth is like taking a faulty apparatus and trying to come at the right conclusion. If you have a faulty telescope or a spoiled microscope, can you get right conclusions out of it? It's not possible. So trying to understand the supreme absolute truth, depending on sensory perception, is a waste of time. Do you all agree? The next way to approach the truth is Anuman Praman. Pratyaksha Praman is what we discussed, Pratyaksha. But we understood we cannot depend on our senses. The problem with there are 4 defects in our senses. The 4 defects are, they are imperfect, that we agreed. They are under illusion. For example, if you get up in the morning and if you have a vertigo, then the whole room starts revolving around you. That is an illusion. That's not happening. That's an illusion. So the senses, not only they are imperfect, but they are always under illusion also. There is a tendency to commit mistakes with the senses. It may be possible that someone is coming, is wearing a blue t-shirt, but I may think, oh, it's not blue, but it's black. It may happen sometimes. Tendency to commit mistakes. And because there is a tendency to commit mistakes, so in order to hide the mistake, there is a tendency to cheat. I made a mistake. I want to hide my mistake, so I have to cheat. So all of us, we have 4 defects in our senses. Our senses are imperfect. They are under illusion. They commit mistakes and they cheat. So anybody who has these 4 defects can never arrive at the supreme absolute truth. This much, do you agree? Only a person who is free from these 4 defects can give us the knowledge of the supreme absolute truth. Does Krishna have these 4 defects? Senses imperfect, senses under illusion, tendency to cheat, and making mistakes. Does he have these problems? So therefore, whatever knowledge we get from Krishna and whatever knowledge we get from those sources who are repeating Krishna's words is perfect knowledge. A person who is repeating the words of Krishna may not be perfect. But because he is repeating as it is, the knowledge which we are getting is perfect. That's how Pratyaksha Praman fails. That's why these, yes.
Sight or all sense?
All sense, that which you can perceive. That which is in your sense perception. This discussion came from the word adhokshaja. God is beyond sense perception. So all the scientific observations and experiments, they are dependent on what? Sense perception. So using scientific research, analysis, and perceptions, we can never arrive at the supreme absolute truth. Now, there is another angle to understand this is, or the next step is Anuman Praman. I understand that not everything is within the range of my sensory perception, so therefore I will make guess, Anuman. That guess will be a scientific guess or a calculated guess or a theory or a postulate, theorem, something I'll make. It could be this, according to me, I feel, in my opinion, the universe started with a big bang. This is called Anuman Praman. Suppose we hear some sound from inside this room. The sound is two people very badly talking to each other. They are blaspheming each other, talking to each other, and then sound of fighting also starts coming. And what we will think, what we should do? What will be the first reaction? First thought process will be, who are these two people coming to temple and fighting? Really jobless. Who fights in temple? This will be the first thought process. Second thought process, what will be? Let's try to go and prevent the fight. So what you'll do, you'll immediately go inside. But after going there, you'll realize that somebody is watching YouTube, and inside YouTube, the fight is going on. So your Anuman was completely incorrect. You are very expert at making Anuman. Oh yes, some fight is going on. But in reality, something absolutely different is happening and you have no clue. So your guess may be completely wrong. Anuman Praman can be absolutely wrong. So one cannot do Anuman Praman to understand the supreme absolute truth also. The universe could have been made like this. The world could have started like this. 10,000 years ago, all of us were running around naked. My great-grandfather's great-grandfather was a monkey. This kind of Anuman Praman doesn't work. So Shabd Praman cannot lead you to the absolute truth. Anuman Praman cannot lead you to the absolute truth. Sorry, Pratyaksha Praman cannot lead you to the absolute truth. Anuman Praman cannot lead you to the absolute truth. The third way of getting knowledge is Shabd Praman. Knowledge coming from Vedic scriptures, Shabd. Now, as I explained that we may not be perfect, but the source of knowledge where we are taking our knowledge is perfect. So therefore, our knowledge is perfect. Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, chapter 15, shloka number 15, Sarvasya chaham hridi sannivishto mattah smritir jnanam apohanam cha vedaischa sarvair aham eva vedyo vedanta krit vedavid eva cha aham. He says, I am the Paramatma sitting in everybody's heart. By my influence comes knowledge, remembrance, and forgetfulness. Vedaishcha sarvair aham eva vedyo. The goal of studying this Vedic literature is to understand me. Now, I was explaining in one of the previous sessions that how Vedic literature means everything. Vedic literature doesn't mean, some chanting some mantras or something. Everything which is there, which the human mind can conceive or understand, comes from Vedas. For example, medicine science comes from Vedas. Military science comes from Vedas. Astronomy, astrology comes from Vedas. Chemical metallurgy comes from Vedas. Physics comes from Vedas. Mathematics comes from Vedas. Economics comes from Vedas. Law comes from Vedas. So any branch of study is coming from the Vedas. So the goal of all kinds of studies, Vedaishcha sarvair ahameva vedyo. The goal of all the studies is to understand Krishna. If you are a great lawyer and by the study of your law, BA, LLB, MA, LLB, and you became a High Court judge, But after becoming a High Court judge, if you cannot understand that, or you cannot come to the conclusion that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, I am his part and parcel, and the supreme occupation of my life is to render loving devotional service unto him, then all your study, whether it is law or metallurgy, it is a waste of time. So Vedaishta Sarvair Aham Eva Vedyo. Then Krishna says, Vedant Krit Vedavid Eva Cha Aham. He says, I am the compiler of the Vedanta. Who has written the Vedanta? Vedanta Krit. Who has done it? Who has done it? Vedanta Krit Vedavid Eva Cha Aham. I have written it through Vedvyas. Vedanta Krit. Vedvyas only put it in writing, but before Vedvyas put it in writing, everything was, in the previous yugas, there used to be no books. Nobody used to study. No. There used to be no books because everybody was a Shrutidhar. Simply they used to hear once and whole life they used to remember. Amazing, no? So, because everybody would remember everything, so there was no need to write down anything. But with passage of time, as the abilities in Kali Yuga reduced, degraded, Vyasadeva thought that people are so less intelligent, spiritually dull, lack of memory, lack of lifespan. So let me put down these teachings. But originally Vedanta comes from whom? Krishna. Vedanta Krit, Veda Vid. Who is the knower of the Vedas? Krishna. So we are taking our knowledge from whom? Krishna. No one can say that this Bhagavad Gita was written by a human being. Nobody can say that the Vedanta or the Vedas were written by a human being. No, it was all coming from Krishna. So, the best way to get knowledge is Shabda Praman, the knowledge which is descending from Krishna. This is the process of getting. We have to get knowledge top to bottom, not bottom to up. Bottom to up means you will decide what to do, and you will understand and you will conclude. And you are so intelligent. But top down knowledge means you are receiving the knowledge as it is, keeping it as it is and passing it on as it is. That is the way to understand the supreme absolute truth. So in the previous verse, it was said that amongst all the dharmas, the supreme occupational dharma of all living entities, savai pumsam, not just occupational dharma of devotees or occupational dharma of Indians, no. Savai pumsam paro dharmo yato bhakti adhokshaja, rendering devotional service to adhokshaja, that supreme Lord who is beyond the sensory perception. And this bhakti should be ahaituki, causeless, apratihata. It should not be stopped in any circumstance. Only when our process of devotional service, that means chanting Hare Krishna, reading the Bhagavad Gita, associating with devotees and eating prasad, only when this is causeless and unstoppable in all circumstances, then only yayatma suprasidati, then only we will get complete satisfaction of heart. Then only we will be completely happy. Otherwise, it's not possible. We have never been able to become fully happy till now. That's why we are all looking for some happiness. Even the watch which you buy, you have bought it with an idea that you will become happy by wearing it. But now you're thinking how to buy the next watch. That's the thing with iPhones, that's the thing with watches, that's the thing with jobs, that's the thing with clothes, that's the thing with cars. These days, that's the thing with family members also. Change. I don't like this family member, change the house, change the family, get a dog, make the dog your family. I mean, no pun intended, but it's happening. Only when we render ahaituki apratihata bhakti to Krishna, unconditional, unmotivated, uninterrupted bhakti to Krishna, only when we do this, or at least only when we try to do this, then only we can be happy in all circumstances. The goal of life is to attain love of God. And only those people who keep Krishna Prema or love of God as the highest priority in their life, only they can be happy. And only they can actually achieve great things in life. Because the people who have such a higher goal, love of God, they will not be disturbed by temporary things which are happening in life. If the goal of my life is to make my son happy, and if my son dies, I'll be miserable. Probably I'll also die. But if the goal of my life is to keep Krishna happy, whether my son listens to me, doesn't listen to me, whether he stays in the house or runs away from the house, whether he lives or whether he dies, I'll continue understanding that the goal of my life is to render devotional service to Krishna. But yes, apart from that, I have some prescribed duties which I have to take care of. So when we have a higher goal, we are not disturbed by the ups and downs of our life. When you are sitting in a train, you have a higher goal. What is that higher goal? To reach a destination. Now, during reaching that destination, if some ups and downs happen in your bogie or in your coach, a person comes who makes it very dirty, or a person comes who is snoring very loudly, or a person comes who starts fighting, what you'll do? You'll pull the chain and get down on the train. You'll just tolerate it. And anyways, I'm not here for a long time. Another 2-3 hours, I just get down. Sometimes you get into a train, there's no place to sit also. You end up standing for 3 hours. When was the last time you stood for 3 hours? God knows. But in the train, you think that let me just stand for 3 hours and get out of it. And once I go to that destination, I'll have a very nice sofa in which I'll sleep nicely. So because you have this idea that this suffering or this conditioning is temporary, let me just go through it. Because the ultimate destination has great happiness, promise of happiness. The reason why you are able to tolerate all this suffering is because you have a higher goal in life. So those who have a mission or a purpose in life, they're able to grow and go through everything in life. Those who have a higher purpose or a higher mission in life, they can go through everything. And there can be no higher mission, no higher purpose other than getting love of God or Krishna Prem. And one who has made Krishna Prem as the topmost priority of his life, they can achieve great things. They can go beyond the description of achievements, and they can go beyond the description of happiness. And this is only possible when you render pure devotional service according to the teachings of the Acharyas like Srila Prabhupada in an unmotivated, uninterrupted way. Ahaituki apratihata. Yayatma suprasidati. Only then you will be fully satisfied. Otherwise, always you will be miserable. You may become the richest man in the world, you will be miserable. You can become the most famous person, still you will be miserable. But if and only if you can learn how to sincerely chant Hare Krishna and render pure devotional service, you'll be the happiest man. Now, in continuation to that previous verse is today's verse. By rendering devotional service unto the personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna, one immediately acquires causeless knowledge and detachment from the world. Now, we are all looking for knowledge. Lack of knowledge is the cause of suffering, they say. Now, what is knowledge? Knowledge, does it mean that I have 2 PhD degrees and I have so much information about the share market? Wherever I go, give me any subject matter and I can give a speech on it for 15 hours non-stop. Does that mean knowledge? Knowledge means understanding what is favorable for the practice of Krishna consciousness and accepting it, and understanding what is not favorable for the practice of Krishna consciousness and rejecting it. This is called knowledge. Knowledge means having full faith that Krishna will protect me. Understanding the various incidents which were given in the Bhagavatam, the various devotees who were saved by Krishna. So having faith in that. Knowledge means being dependent on Krishna. That means you have to continue doing your dharma, that is bhakti, and prescribed duties, meaning the various activities which you need to perform. And then ultimately learn to depend on Krishna. Practicing to surrender to Krishna is also called knowledge. Arjuna became Arjuna because he surrendered to Krishna on the battlefield. He gave up his own opinions and accepted the will of Krishna. Someone may claim that fighting a war is the prescribed duty of a Kshatriya, so whatever Arjuna did was his duty. The answer is no. Arjuna fought the Mahabharata battle not out of his prescribed duty, but because Krishna wanted it, and he fought it just to please Krishna. This is the reality. If you read the Bhagavad Gita, you'll understand. Because Arjuna said, Karishye vachanam tava. Whatever you say, I will follow. Because you read the first chapter of Bhagavad Gita and the second chapter, Arjuna gives 5 reasons why he should not fight the Mahabharata war. And if you read those reasons, you will understand Arjuna is not like some donkey sitting somewhere. He's a very intelligent person, and he's giving very profound and logical reasons not to fight. And Krishna, defeated all those arguments and convinced him to fight. So, what is the symptoms of knowledge? Accepting everything which is in favor of my practice of Krishna Bhakti, rejecting everything which takes me away from Krishna, having full faith that Krishna will always protect me, learning to depend on Krishna, surrendering to Krishna, and being humble. These are the 6 signs of Sharanagati, or a man of knowledge. This is just a shloka. I did not make these things up. This is a shloka. Anukulyasya sankalpam pratikulyasya varjanam rakshishyati iti vishvaso gop tripte varnam tatha atmanikshepa karpanya shadvidhi sharanagati. These are the 6 symptoms of a person or a man of knowledge who has taken shelter of Krishna. So we all need this knowledge. This is the definition of knowledge. Now, how to get this knowledge? How to understand what is favorable? How to understand what is unfavorable? How to accept what is favorable for bhakti? How to reject what is unfavorable? I'm an innocent person. I don't even know. How to always have hope that yes, Krishna will protect me. How to have that hope against hope, especially when life becomes crazy. It's easy to practice bhakti when everything is okay. But when one atom bomb is dropped in my life, my faith gets challenged. How to be humble? How to surrender to Krishna? I don't know. I have so much false ego, I was not able to surrender to anybody in my life. Forget about my teachers, my parents, my seniors or colleagues or relatives or whatever. I never surrendered to anybody. I never learned to be dependent on Krishna. So how do I know all these things? Who will teach me all these things? The answer is no need to learn these things. Just chant Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Simply by chanting Hare Krishna, doing some seva to Krishna, and speaking about Krishna. Chanting Hare Krishna, doing some seva and doing little prachar. By doing these three activities, Hare Krishna, seva, prachar, this knowledge one will acquire without any effort. That's today's shloka. Vasudeva Bhakti Bhagavati Vasudeva Bhagavati Bhakti Yoga Prayojana Janayat Ashu Vairagyam Jnanam Chayat Ahetukam. Without even trying to get this knowledge, without even trying to become detached, one automatically gets all the knowledge and all the detachment simply by rendering pure devotional service to Krishna. That is the glory of Krishna Bhakti. Vasudeva Bhagavati. Bhakti Yoga Prayojitah and Janayat Ashu. Prabhuji, how much time I have to wait? In the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, Bahunam Janmanam Ante Jnanvan Mam Prapadyate. One has to wait for many, many lifetimes. One who is a man of true knowledge, after many, many lifetimes of pursuit of knowledge, he understands that Vasudeva Sarvam Miti, that Krishna is everything, and surrenders to him. Sa Mahatma Sudurlabha, such a great soul is very, very rare. So, Prabhuji, I have to wait for many, many lifetimes? The answer is no. This shloka, Bahunam Janmanam Ante, is not meant for devotees. It is meant for jnanis who are trying to understand or approach Krishna through the knowledge, through the process of mental speculation. Those who try to approach Krishna by the process of mental speculation, they will take many, many lifetimes. After many, many lifetimes, if they are sincere, then they will meet a devotee of Krishna who will teach them to surrender to Krishna. By the independent pursuit of knowledge, one can never reach Krishna. All the limbs of yoga ladder, the Karma Yoga, Jnana Yoga, Dhyana Yoga, all of them, they attain their perfection and completion only when they get the touch of bhakti. A person practicing Karma Yoga, in Kali Yuga, it is not possible to practice Karma Yoga also. But if at all in any of the yogas, if somebody is doing Karma Yoga, then his Karma Yoga becomes perfect when he meets a devotee and that devotee teaches him Krishna Bhakti. So Karma Yoga's perfection is achieved by Bhakti. Jnana Yoga's perfection is achieved by Bhakti. Ashtanga Yoga's perfection is also achieved by Bhakti. There are so many examples in the scriptures. So Bhakti, all the other yoga limbs of the yoga ladder, Karma, Jnana, Ashtanga, they depend on Bhakti for their success. But Bhakti is independent. It can be practiced. One need not practice Karma Yoga, Jnana Yoga, Dhyana Yoga. One can directly start practicing Bhakti, and by the process of practicing Bhakti Yoga, one will achieve the success in Karma, Jnana, and Ashtanga automatically. Prabhupada says that Karma Yoga, Jnana Yoga, Dhyana Yoga, they are the various stages. Suppose there is a building of 100 stories. Karma Yoga is the 20th floor, Jnana Yoga is the 40th floor, Dhyana Yoga is the Ashtanga Yoga is the 60th floor. He says, but Bhakti Yoga is that lift which takes you, that elevator, which takes you to the topmost floor. So if there are 100 floors, which path would you like to take? The stairways or the elevator? How many of you would like to take the stairs? I'm like a fitness freak. I would like to take the stairs. Yes, Prabhu. Very good. Do you want to practice Karma Yoga, Jnana Yoga, Dhyana Yoga, at least for the next 200 lifetimes and then go back to Godhead? Or you want to go back to Godhead in this life only? 100, 200, 1,000, or this life? This life. Then there's no point being a fitness freak. You can be a fitness freak in just to keep your body healthy enough. But I'm talking in terms of yoga ladder. Who is the fittest man in this world, physically speaking also? Sorry? Ramdev Baba. I like that answer. Thank God you people didn't say Arnold Schwarzenegger and all those people. What will happen to the body of Ramdev Baba once he dies? So many years of pranayam, so many years of brahmacharya, so many years. What will happen?
That happens to
Huh?
Same thing that happens to everyone.
Same thing that happens to everybody. So if his pranayam and if his yoga has not led him to Krishna bhakti, of course he will have some good destination in his next life. But the cycle continues. You will be tied, your hands will be tied. Now you choose whether you want an iron chain or a silver chain or you want to be tied by a golden chain. How many of you prefer a golden chain in their hands? Hands tied by golden chain so that you take a photo like this. See, I can't do anything. My hands are tied by a golden chain. It's useless. Whether it's an iron chain or a silver chain or a golden chain, it's useless. Generally, those who practice brahmacharya very nicely, they become princes or kings in their next life. Just to break that practice of brahmacharya for next life. And this is what I've heard in see. Those who practice perfect brahmacharya, they end up to they directly go to Brahmaloka, the topmost planet in this universe, and they stay with Lord Brahma for many, many thousands of yugas. But again, when their pious credits are over, Kshine Punya Martya Lokam Tam Vishamti. They come back to earth, they take birth either in a Brahminical family or they take birth in an aristocratic family, and again life continues. So what's the point of taking a detour of 50,000 yugas and then again coming back to earth and taking birth in a Brahminical family and again thinking what to do? Back to square one. One may say, oh, Brahmaloka, you cannot imagine lifestyle in Brahmaloka is millions and billions of times better than earth. Yes, I agree. But in Brahmaloka also there is birth, disease, old age and death. That you cannot avoid. Otherwise, why is Brahma himself old? You must have seen various TV serials, right? Brahma is like a very young man, right? He's an old man. So, the point which I'm trying to say is, one gets all the knowledge automatically simply by rendering devotional service to Krishna. And this knowledge is transcendental. The goal of all knowledge is to please Krishna. One may be a great scientist, great philosopher, great poet, great politician, district magistrate, whatever. But if they are not able to please Krishna, all their achievements are a waste of time. But one may be an illiterate man, but who every day brings little water for Krishna. He is more successful than anybody else. Srila Prabhupada gives an example. He says that when he was staying in the Radha Damodar temple in Vrindavan before coming to the West, there was one old widow who used to get up every day 3:30 a.m., have bath, and then go with a pot of water to the Yamuna, bring a pot of Yamuna water and give it to the Pujari of Radha Damodar temple before 4:30 a.m. to perform Abhishek of Shri Shri Radha and Damodar. And Prabhupada was saying that I spent few years and every day she used to come, whether it is winter, summer, rain, no rain, every day without fail. And most of the days Prabhupada only would open the gate for her to come inside. Srila Prabhupada observed and remarked that just because of this one single activity of her bringing water for Krishna every day in the morning, she's going back home, back to God. Because she pleased Krishna. Now, what qualification it needs? That widow needs to be PhD. She needs to be a millionaire. She needs to be a Bhakti Shastri. No. She had a desire to serve Krishna. and she had a desire to please Krishna. She was rendering service to Krishna with a desire to please Krishna. Somebody must have told her that Krishna likes this. Many people would have approached her that you are so old, why you are doing, we will do. But she didn't stop. Many people would have approached her, hey, what you are doing? There is so much problems in the country. There is so much problems in your family. Why you are bringing water for Krishna? She wouldn't have listened. That means her practice of devotional service was free of karma and jnana. So therefore, she is going back to God. Now, what she is doing is called knowledge. Because she understands what is the purpose of my life. The purpose of my life is, as long as I have this body, somehow or the other, I have to use it in Krishna's service as much as possible. In whichever circumstance I am, I may not be able to render service to Krishna 24 hours a day, no problem. But this 2 hours I have in the morning, let me give. Why am I doing this? So that my son becomes healthy, so that I become a grandmother, so that I become a great grandmother. No. I'm doing this just to please Krishna. If Krishna is pleased, it is good. If Krishna is not pleased, what can I do? I'm an unfortunate person. I should not stop my service still. With this consciousness she was doing, that's why she is a person of knowledge. So this knowledge comes even without trying to do anything, causelessly. And the next thing is detachment. How many of you think that you are very much struggling in life because of unnecessary attachments? Please raise your hand. Everybody is raising their hand. You're also suffering. You didn't raise your hand, but I know, I'm talking to him. You're suffering so much. The reason why we are struggling and suffering is because we have this artificial attachment. 30 years ago, nobody used to pay 80 rupees for 20 liters of water. Life was simple. There would be some hand pumps, and then you take water from that and drink it. But now this life, artificial life which we are living, in which we order for water, order for vegetables, blink it, keep blinking. Whole day we keep blinking only. Do you think by just sitting at home and getting the vegetables, we are leading a very happy life? At least earlier, we used to take out our jhola, our bag, used to walk for some distance. We used to know that the sabji market starts at 5 a.m. If I go after 8 a.m., then all the third-class vegetables only I will get. So I have to go early. I have to meet various vendors, make some friendship, get a good price. Fresh vegetables used to come. At least some engagement was there. At least you were waking up at 5 a.m. for that. But now, in your bed only you ordered and then continued your sleep. This is not life. This energy of human life is being sapped because of unnatural lifestyle. No fixed time for eating, no fixed time for sleeping, no fixed time for having bath, no fixed time for artificial lifestyle. It's sapping the human energy and it is just degrading us without our knowledge. And we are attached to this kind of a lifestyle. But from Monday to Friday, you see, you get into any road of Bangalore, you get into a bus or you get into some kind of a car. All of them will be having a bag and a tag. And they're going somewhere. If you ask them where you're going, I'm going to office. What you'll do, I don't know. Something I'll do. This is the case with everybody. What is the need to work so hard? That is my question.